me. I know black. I know black. I know black. Imposible. I know black. I'm Dominican. I'm Puerto Rican. I know black. Be looking just like me. Be having the same hair. I be touching you like, it's not the same. It's not the same. It's not the same, papi. It's not the same. They try to salsa that shit off. I be like, no, it's not the same. I know black. Negro nunca, nunca. I know no, nunca. I know black. I'm like, no, you black. No, no, no. I know black. Dominica. I go, I know, but you're black. No, 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 papi. I know black. I know black. I know black. I know.
Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Harakakwadash. I want to give double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, G. Master Ruel, and peace and salutations to the elect of the true nation of Israel, Yasharallah. Quick lesson, man. On the tribe of Simeon, which are the Dominicans. All right, the so-called Dominicans today. Okay. That's going to be the topic of this lesson, man. And how also how just because you look black, you have dark skin and you have nappy hair, doesn't mean you're black. You're black. You may look black, you may look like that on the outer appearance of yourself, but what about your spirit, your inside, the inside of you, man? All right. Okay, it's not about your outer appearance like the scriptures say. The Lord says to not judge the countenance of a man, the outward appearance of a man, because the Lord sees the inside of a man. All right, talking about your spirit. Okay, so if your spirit is that of a Dominican, all right, or any other tribe, Northern Kingdom, okay, because there's a lot, hey, you're that tribe then. Doesn't matter what you look like, because, there's brothers in this truth. They look straight up like Judah or Levi or Benjamin, They look black on the outside, but on the inside, their spirit, all right, their spirit is Northern Kingdom, all right, Gad, Simeon, all right, Reuben, Issachar, all right. There's Issacharites. All right. Well, actually, they're Judah, but they look like Issachar. Guys that I grew up with. All right, and I could tell by their spirit. There's another case. Hey, I went to school with this guy. He was half like Asian and half so-called black, but he was a Jake, all right. He was an Israelite, man, because he had talent, and he had the spirit of an Israelite, man, all right, of a Jake, okay. Even though he was half Asian, all right. And he said, but yeah, man, just because you black don't mean you're black, Look how that person acts. Look at the spirit of that person. Be spiritual, okay? And there's a lot of Dominicans, all right, that are, dark skinned, that have nappy hair, that look black, that look Haitian, and even in their own country, how do you say it? In the Dominican Republic, man, all right, there's a lot of black looking Dominicans, and they get called Haitians, Oh no, you're Haitian, because you're black, at the same time, they're like, no, I'm not black, I'm Dominican, because hey, that's their spirit. Their spirit is telling them that I'm Dominican, man. I'm the tribe of Simeon, All right, so if that person acts like whatever they act, or if that person acts like the tribe of Issachar, don't matter what they look like, hey, they might look like an Edomite, all right, because there's a lot of Edomite looking Issacharites, all right, like Canelo, he looks like an Edomite, but he's an Issacharite, man, all right. But anyway, moving on to the topic, of the tribe of Simeon, man, all right, being the Dominicans, okay. And proving it with scripture, man. The scriptures. This is Genesis 49:5. Okay, let's read the first verse. In the second verse, it says, "And Jacob called unto his sons, all right, his 12 sons, all right, and said, Gather yourselves together, that I may tell you that which shall befall you in the last days. All right, gather yourselves together, and hear ye, sons of Jacob, and hearken unto Israel your father." So it says that I may tell you that which shall befall you in the last days. And we're in those last days. Okay. So this is an indicator. This chapter is an indicator of who the 12 tribes are, man. All right, the lost 12 tribes. Okay. And we'll go down to verse 5. It says Simeon, all right, and Levi are brethren. Okay. All right. And I'm gonna get into how they're linked together. Okay. Well, first off, all right, both tribes, all right, are on the same island, man. Okay. And there's a border cutting it right down the middle. Okay. All right. So they share an island. All right. In that aspect, they're brothers. All right. And I'm gonna get into another aspect on how they're brothers too. All right. There's like 3 ways. All right. It says Simeon and Levi are brethren. Instruments of cruelty are in their habitations. Okay. And that's dual fold. All right. That's by way of their witchcraft. All right. The Haitians do voodoo, and they're known for doing voodoo, and the Dominicans are known for doing the brujeria. All right. The Northern Kingdom type of witchcraft. Let's look it up. Dominican. It's called brujeria. Well, they do voodoo too. It says voodoo, but I forgot what it's called. Voodoo Dominicano. I thought it was brujeria. It says many of these spirits are associated with particular Catholic saints, further illustrating. So yeah, it's a type of voodoo. It's witchcraft, man. So they do a lot of witchcraft. Okay. You see the 21 divisions, Dominican voodoo. They're really, it's really popular, and they're known for doing that, man. All right. Okay. They're bugged out. So yeah. That they do witchcraft. That they're known for that. It's popular. A lot of them do that, man. And also that's part of their cruelty, man. All right, they do a lot of that. That's cruel. In the sight of the Lord. And going back to the what Simeon, the son, Simeon and Levi, what they did, or they slew. Let's get it. This is how. This is what it means too. Okay. And it came to pass on the 3rd day, when they were sore, that the sons of Jacob, Simeon and Levi, all right, Dinah's brethren, okay, which their sister was Dinah's, all right, Dinah, okay, and what they do for Dinah, it says, took each man, all right, the Hamites, or the Canaanites, took each man his sword, and came upon the city boldly, and slew all the males. So this is what Simeon and Levi did. All right. They slew a lot of, they slew the males of these Hamites. All right. These Canaanites, these heathens. All right. And this is why. It says, and they slew Hamor and Shechem. All right. His son, and with the edge of the sword. All right. Which is an act of cruelty. All right. And took Dinah out of Shechem's house, and went out. Okay. Oh, hold on. Let me read the whole chapter. I think it says it in verse 27. Verse 27. Yeah. All right. The sons of Jacob, all right, Simeon and Levi, came upon the slain and spoiled the city because they have defiled. This is why. Because they had defiled their sister. All right. Because those Hamites, those heathens, they raped Dinah. All right. Their sister, and that's why Levi and Simeon, all right, slew and unalived, all right, by the sword, those Hamites for what they did, but the Lord told them not to. Okay. It says, verse 30 says, and Jacob said to Simeon and Levi, Ye have troubled me to make me to stink among the inhabitations. All right, so that made Jacob, all right, their father, an outcast. It made the situation, all right, because these heathens saw that and were like, what the hell, and they looked at Jacob as it was just a very awkward and scary and unpleasant and cruel, just a messed up situation that Simeon and Levi left their father with, man. Okay. A stink among the habitations of the land, among the Canaanites and the Perizzites, and I, being few in number, they shall gather themselves together against me and slay me, and I shall be destroyed, and I and my house. And they said, should he deal with our sister as with a harlot? Okay. So yeah, man, that's the acts of cruelty that it's talking about, that Simeon and Levi did, man. All right. And that carries spiritually to this day. All right. With voodoo. All right, they're self-willed. Okay. All right. That they do this voodoo, all right, and witchcraft against each other, man. All right. And they're known to be very toxic towards each other. All right. And they take it to the extreme, man. All right. This is cruelty in their hands. Verse 6, O my soul, come not thou into their secret. All right. That secret is talking about their voodoo. All right. Because they do it in secret, All right. They do that left-hand magic in secret, man. All right. Unto their assembly, mine honor be not. This is mine honor be not thou united, for in their anger they slew a man. All right, and they're not united, man. All right, even though they share their brethren, all right, they share an island, but they hate each other. All right, Levi and the Dominicans hate each other, even the way they look. All right, be not thou united, for in their anger they slew a man. All right, and I showed you who that man was talking about. Those Hamites that raped their sister, and in their self-will they digged down a wall, because they weren't supposed to do that, man. All right, they did what they wanted to, and they slew those Hamites, all right, for revenge of their sister. Okay, for being zealous and just being overly zealous, and self-willed. Okay, this is, they dig down a wall. Okay, which spiritually made that whole situation for Jacob, all right, their family a rough and scary and unpleasant situation, and those Hamites wanted to destroy Jacob. Okay, and they're his sons and his family. Okay, because those Simeon and Levi wanted to be rebellious and self-willed sons. Okay, and the Lord cursed them. It says, cursed be their anger. Okay, and their anger today in the form of witchcraft, man. All right, which is very cursed. Okay, they throw curses on each other, and those curses come back on them because the Lord cursed them. All right, doing that wicked shit, man. For doing that wicked shit to this day. All right. For it was fierce in their wrath, for it was cruel. You know, I will divide them in Jacob and scatter them in Israel. Okay, and that's spiritually, just you know, how it is for the Dominicans and Haitians. All right, they're divided amongst each other. Okay, even amongst themselves. All right, well, Haiti and the Dominicans don't like each other. They're literally divided. All right, even though they're brethren, they're divided while brethren. You know, but at the same time, you know, um, when there's a lot of Dominicans, like that they're divided amongst themselves. They want they're a lot. I don't want to say, because I haven't really been around Dominicans like that. They're friendly people, man. They're friendly. They're lively, very lively, man. And lovely too. But they're lively. But when they're around themselves too much and too often, and when there's too many Dominicans, around themselves, they become cruel amongst themselves. They want to be that. I watched a brother's video. He said, they want to be that token Dominican, that top Dominican. Okay. They dress. They're really fancy and dress fancy, and they're really just they want to be top notch. They're they care a lot about their outward appearance, which I could be like that too, but anyway, but amongst Israel, it says, and scatter them in Israel, and how do you say, you'll get a lot of Dominicans, scattered all around the United States, around the Caribbean and whatnot. Shoot, I dealt with the Dominican, was it like 5 years ago, outside of town, I'm like, what the hell? You're Dominican? I thought she was a white girl, because you know how Jake is. Jake be mingling amongst each other, She was like half Puerto Rican, half Dominican. She looked more Puerto Rican, but I could see the Dominican in her, and I felt her spirit that she was a Dominican, the tribe of Simeon. That relationship, it didn't even start off at, it didn't even go off anywhere at all, but yeah, man, she looked like a Edomite. She was really, I'm talking about like her skin color was fair, but she was like in the middle of like nowhere, a small town. Met her on Facebook and whatnot. So yeah, the Lord has, He scattered Dominicans. There's Dominicans on the East Coast. I heard they're in the West Coast now. They're in the middle of the United States. I live in the middle of the United States. So and they're really friendly and easy to get along with, man. All right, So yeah, man. It says when it says, I will scatter them in Israel. And the Lord doing so, they're easy to get along with, if you're like of the other tribes, they get along with the other tribes. I meant to say it like that, they get along with the other tribes, but when they're amongst themselves, they're cruel amongst themselves, man, and that's just their characteristics, man, because they were cruel from the beginning, man. All right, the Lord cursed them for disobeying the Lord. For being disobedient and slaying those Hamites, So to this day, they're cruel amongst each other. All right. So yeah, man. That's it, man. I'm gonna end it off right there. And when you go into the word Simeon, it means to listen. Which is pretty ironic, because they listened, but they did what they wanted to do. They were self-willed. All right. They heard, and they knew, that they weren't supposed to slew those Hamites. All right. And at the same time, they heard that their sister was being raped. All right. So they heard. They knew the situation. All right. Back in the day. All right. And but they did what they wanted to. They chose a wicked route. So therefore they're cursed. They're not the only cursed tribes, Levi and Simeon. They're not the only cursed ones. We're all cursed. Okay. All right. The curses fit all 12 tribes, man. not all equally. We, look at us, Northern Kingdom. Us, Northern Kingdom, all right, we don't have the curse. Our women don't have the curse of baldness, all right, you know. But the Southern Kingdom, Judah, all right, their women have the curse of baldness. Okay, so all curses don't fit every single tribe equally, but the curses fit overall the 12 tribes of Israel, all 12 tribes. So I just wanted to make that point because this lesson could come off as talking down on Dominicans and whatnot and the tribe of Levi, but it's just I'm just, how do you say, as us men of Yahweh Shemashah, we got to bring out the truth of who the 12 tribes are and who the Lord's people are, man. So yeah, man. Even though the Dominicans and the tribe of Levi, all right, specifically the Dominicans in this lesson, hey, they're a beautiful people, man. All right, they're lively and they have the spirit of the Lord upon them, but not according to knowledge. They're the salt of the earth, all right. We're gods, but we shall die like men and fall like the princes. We're the salt of the earth, but we don't have our Savior. Okay, we're cursed right now. Until the Lord returns, then He's gonna bless us and flip those curses upon our enemies. So this isn't a forever thing, man. The tribe of Simeon and the tribe of Levi and all tribes aren't gonna be doing wicked things, man, on the left hand side.